Good afternoon, students. Today we will discuss on lipid-lowering drugs. Also, these are called as hypolipidemic drugs. Okay, so let's start. We will cover this lecture in two parts. So, hypolipidemic drugs. These are drugs which lower the level of lipids and lipoproteins in blood. The hypolipidemic drugs have attracted considerable attention because of their potential to prevent cardiovascular disease by preventing the accelerated atherosclerosis in hyperlipidemic individuals. Hmm. So to study this further, we need to know the details of lipid absorption and lipid transport through our body. Hmm. So dietary lipids contain about 150 gram of fat, mainly in form of triglycerides, phospholipids, cholesterol. About 5 gram of this fat is removed from feces daily. In blood, lipids always exist in combination with proteins, and such a combination it is called as lipoprotein, that is lipids plus proteins. These are easily stored in the body and they serve as a source of fuel and are an important constituent of the structure of cells. So why we need to give hypolipidemic drugs? First reason is to prevent atherosclerosis, which is the presumptive cause of coronary heart disease and stroke. Although treatment of hyperlipidemia, it causes slow physical regression of plaques, there is a documented decrease in acute coronary events in the first few months following vigorous treatment that is thought to be chiefly due to decreased inflammatory activity of the macrophages. It can also be used to prevent acute pancreatitis and also retard the development of xanthomas. Cholesterol, triglycerides, phospholipids, and free fatty acids, they are transported as lipoproteins. Also as core hydrophobic lipids, cholesterol esters, triglycerides, port hydrophilic lipids, cholesterol, and phospholipids. So lipids are carried in plasma in lipoproteins after getting associated with several apoproteins. Plasma lipid concentrations, they are dependent on the concentration of lipid proteins. The core of a so this is the summary. A lipid is ingested, it is digested and absorbed into the blood. So lipids in blood as lipoproteins. Some part of it is excreted in feces, while other it is stored as energy reserve. Where it is stored? In adipose tissue for insulin, support of vital organs, and generate heat. It can also be synthesized from carbohydrates and proteins. They are also oxidized for releasing energy, and they also convert to brain and nerve tissues. So these are important. Lipids are important. So lipid intake is also important. The core of lipoprotein globules consists of triglycerides or cholesterol esters, while the outer polar layer has phospholipids, free cholesterol, and apoproteins. So before we study this in detail, we should know the lipoprotein metabolism. There are four main pathways of lipoprotein metabolism. One is exogenous or chylomicron pathway. Second is endogenous pathway. Third is cholesterol metabolism. And fourth is HDL metabolism. So this is the lipid transport. Here we can see the key enzymes that are involved. One is pancreatic lipase. It causes degradation of dietary triglycerides in small intestine. Lipoprotein lipase, It causes degradation of triglycerides circulating in chylomicrons and VLDLs. Hepatic triglyceride lipase, degradation of triglycerides remaining in IDL, and hormone sensitive lipase, degradation of triglycerides stored in adipocytes. So here it is, here is a depiction of this. The dietary fat and cholesterol is ingested from intestine. It is absorbed as chylomicrons. From chylomicrons, free fatty acids are released, which are either stored in the adipose tissue or they are utilized in the peripheral tissues. Okay, so from adipose tissue, free fatty acids, they go to the liver, and from there they are either circulated as bile acids or they are released as VLDL. Then lipoprotein lipase, it acts on it, and it causes the release of free fatty acids and IDL. This IDL is converted by hepatic lipase to LDL, low density lipoprotein, which may be utilized by the peripheral tissue that have the LDL receptors, or it may be recirculated to the LDL receptors lying on the liver. Okay. So here, after the action of the lipoprotein lipase, uh, the other one is the free fatty acid, other part is the chylomicron remnants. These are also absorbed by the liver. They have receptors here. And this is a simplified version of it. Here we can also see the role of apolipoproteins, ApoE, ApoB. Okay, so ApoE mediated absorption of IDL to liver, ApoB mediated absorption of LDL to liver, and ApoE mediated absorption of chylomicron remnants to the liver. Okay, this is even more simplified about the metabolism around the liver. Okay, when excess cholesterol from the cells is released, it is absorbed in the liver. And when we see VLDL is secreted by the liver. Okay, so it can be converted by lipoprotein lipase to TAG, which goes to the cells, and other portion may be absorbed. From there, LDL is formed and it goes as cholesterol to the cells. Okay, so there is wherever we are seeing the star, there is uptake via receptors, receptor mediated endocytosis. So coming to the first pathway, that is the exogenous pathway. This involves the breakdown of fats in the intestine into smaller particles for absorption. Our food is rich in large chain free fatty acids, small chain free fatty acids, which is also called triglycerides, cholesterol, and phospholipids. In order for the body to make use of dietary lipids, lipids must first be absorbed from the small intestine into the blood. Short and medium chain fatty acids are absorbed directly into the blood while long chain do not. Lipids are bound to albumin in blood and are carried to the liver where they can be readily oxidized to produce the energy. But the long chain fatty acids are first emulsified by the bile salts containing an enzyme called as lecithin synthesized from the liver. Both the bile salts and lecithin are secreted into intestine following the ingestion of fat. Thus, dietary triglycerides and phospholipids are packed with cholesterol and bile salts like lecithin into large particles of lipoprotein complexes called micelles. The formation of micelles renders the fats accessible to the pancreatic lipases and hence generating free fatty acids and a mixture of simple triglycerides called as mono and diacyl glycerols in the intestine. Exogenous pathways, phospholipids are also degraded by the pancreatic phospholipase, releasing a free fatty acid and the lysophospholipid. Both of them are absorbed in the blood from intestine for formation of various cells of body. Thus, micelle formation is essential for the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins and complicated lipids within the human body. Afterwards, dietary cholesterol and free fatty acid absorption starts taking place from the intestine cells. Okay. Here we are introducing the plasma lipoproteins. The biggest particle is chylomicron. Chylomicron in diameters, it is 100 to 500 nanometers. Lipid contained is triglyceride, which is much more than, in quantity than cholesterol esters. Source of this lipid is diet, and its function is dietary triglyceride transport. Okay. Also, here we have VLDL. This one is VLDL. Its diameter is 40 to 80 nanometers. Lipid contained is triglyceride, which is much more in content than cholesterol ester. Okay, source of this lipid is liver, and its function is endogenous triglyceride transport. Then IDL is 30 to 35 nanometer in diameter. In this, the lipid contained main lipid is cholesterol ester, which is much more than triglyceride. Source of this lipid is VLDL. Its function is to transport cholesterol ester and triglyceride to liver, and it is also a source of LDL. Then we also have LDL. LDL is 20 to 25 nanometer in diameter. Its main lipid is cholesterol ester. The source of lipid is IDL. IDL is the intermediate density lipoprotein. Okay, and its function is to transport cholesterol to tissues and liver. Then we have HDL. HDL is the good cholesterol. Its diameter is 5 to 10 nanometer. The lipid is phospholipid and cholesterol ester. Source of this lipid is tissues and cell membranes. Its function is to remove cholesterol from tissues. So coming to the endogenous pathway. Endogenous pathway, it involves the formation of many substances for absorption of simplified fats from intestine into various cells for utilization. And there is formation of chylomicrons which takes place in the intestine for transporting dietary cholesterol and free fatty acid to the rest of the body. The predominant lipids of chylomicrons are triglycerides along with apolipoproteins such as ApoB and ApoA. Chylomicrons enter from the intestine to blood via lymphatic system through left subclavian vein as they are large in shape. In the bloodstream, chylomicrons acquire apoproteins. When these chylomicrons reach the capillaries of adipose tissue and muscles via blood, the fatty acids of chylomicrons are removed by the action of lipoprotein lipase, which is found on the surface of the endothelial cells of the capillaries. The free fatty acids thus formed are absorbed and utilized by the tissues. During the removal of fatty acids, a portion of phospholipids and some apoproteins are also removed and transferred to HDLs. The remaining portion of chylomicron is called as chylomicron remnant. Chylomicron remnants are then taken up by the liver through interaction with the chylomicron remnant receptor. Thus, chylomicrons function to deliver dietary free fatty acids to adipose tissue and muscles and dietary cholesterol to the liver. The cholesterol portion of the chylomicron remnants in liver can be excreted via bile acids or can be used for the formation of very low density lipoproteins. So this is the diagram that depicts the same. Very low density lipoproteins, these are the particles that are synthesized in the liver from chylomicron remnants, and VLDL are then secreted into blood for delivery to the various tissues, primarily the muscle and the adipose tissue for storage or production of energy. In blood, the lipoprotein lipase acts on free fatty acid portion of VLDL, leading to a loss of certain apoproteins and hence converting VLDL to intermediate density lipoproteins, also termed as VLDL remnants. Third is intermediate density lipoproteins, IDLs. VLDL remnants are converted into IDLs in the blood. The fate of IDLs is either conversion to LDL or direct uptake by the liver. Conversion of IDL to LDL occurs due to removal of triacylglycerol. The liver takes up IDLs after they have interacted with the LDL receptor present on the liver. Thus, LDL receptors act to remove excess of LDL present in the blood. Low density lipoprotein, LDL. LDL cholesterol, it is also called as the bad cholesterol because it is considered to be atherogenic. Okay, so it consists mainly of cholesterol. It has three fates. Hmm. One is it can be engulfed by some cells or organs where cholesterol part can be converted to various hormones like in liver, adrenal glands, etc. LDL particles can be removed from the bloodstream by macrophages that deposit these particles on the blood vessels. So this atherogenesis takes place. This is done via an enzyme called acyl-CoA cholesterol acyl transferase, which converts excess of the intracellular cholesterol into cholesterol esters for intracellular storage. Thus, high cholesterol intake can lead to excess of the cholesterol esters in the cell, and hence it can lead to disease called as atherosclerosis. Most LDL particles are absorbed from the bloodstream back into liver by receptor present on the liver called as LDL receptors. Diets high in saturated fats and cholesterol decrease the uptake of LDL particles into the liver. Now HDL, that is high density lipoprotein. HDL are a separate group of lipoproteins. They contain more of the protein and less of cholesterol. These are also called as good cholesterol. LDLs are synthesized in the liver and small intestine. The newly formed HDLs don't have any cholesterol or cholesterol esters. But these HDL particles acquire cholesterol from the cells and become high density lipoprotein cholesterol via an enzyme present in liver called the lecithin cholesterol acyl transferase LCAT. This process has the effect of lowering the level of intracellular cholesterol, since the cholesterol stored within cells as cholesterol esters will be used for formation of plaques by the cells and hence can produce a disease called as atherosclerosis. So what are its function? HDL helps to remove cholesterol from cells, especially deposited within arteries, and transport it back to the liver for excretion or reutilization. This process is called reverse cholesterol transport. So HDL bound cholesterol is sometimes called as good cholesterol. A high level of HDL-C seems to protect against cardiovascular diseases, and low HDL cholesterol levels increase the risk of heart disease. Reverse cholesterol transport. So like here we had already discussed reverse cholesterol transport, which is why HDL is called good cholesterol. Okay. So as reverse cholesterol transport, it means uptake of cholesterol from peripheral tissues. Esterification of HDL-C by LCAT. Here. LCAT, which is activated by ApoA1. Transfer of cholesterol ester to lipoprotein remnants by CETP here. Removal of cholesterol ester rich remnants by liver converted to bile and excreted. So in our body we have two sources of cholesterol. One is the intestinal absorption and second is the liver biosynthesis. So intestinal absorption and in vivo production, that is liver biosynthesis. So, uh, there is a medicine called azetrol, which selectively inhibits the absorption of cholesterol at the brush border membrane in the intestinal lumen. So here is azetrol. Whereas statin, which is also a medicine, hypolipidemic medicine, it acts at this level, liver biosynthesis. Okay. So here we are discussing this intestinal cholesterol absorption. Intestinal cholesterol absorption is an important origin of circulating LDL-C. Dietary cholesterol constitutes two-thirds to three-fourths of cholesterol delivered to the intestine, which is from biliary cholesterol excretion. Intestinal cholesterol undergoes micellar adaptation by bile acids and is then absorbed into the intestinal cells. The rest of free cholesterol may subsequently be pumped back into the intestine through adenosine triphosphate binding cassette transporters. So the names are ABCG5 and ABCG8. Alternately, intestinal free cholesterol may be esterified through acyl coenzyme A cholesterol acyl transferase and then packaged into chylomicrons in intestinal epithelial cell by microsomal triglyceride transfer protein. As CM here means chylomicrons. As chylomicrons leave the intestine, their cholesterol is transported through the lymphatic system to the liver. There are three main points of regulation of cholesterol absorption into the body. So when the micellar particle comes in the proximity of an enterocyte, cholesterol is transported into the enterocyte through a channel identified as NPC1L1. A fraction of this cholesterol is pumped back out of the enterocyte into the intestinal lumen by the complex ABCG5 by 8 and the remainder is esterified by the enzyme acyl coenzyme A cholesterol acyl transferase that is ACAT into cholesterol esters. So this is the intestinal cholesterol absorption as we had studied in the previous slide. So ezetimibe it acts here. Now second is in vivo hepatic cholesterol synthesis. So here we find the role of the enzyme HMG-CoA reductase. Okay. So what is HMG-CoA reductase? It is 3-hydroxy-3-methyl glutaryl-CoA reductase. It is an enzyme that causes the conversion of acetyl-CoA to cholesterol in the liver. Acetyl-CoA is produced from the metabolism of glucose, amino acids and fatty acids within the cells with liberation of energy. The excess of glucose, amino acids and fatty acids intake leads to excess generation of acetyl-CoA and hence cholesterol and other lipid formation. So this is hepatic cholesterol metabolism. It is been summed up here. From diet and biliary cholesterol, there can be absorption into the liver. Then de novo synthesis in the liver. Also cholesterol from extrahepatic tissues via reverse transport. Okay, and then it acts to comes to the liver cholesterol pool from where it might be transported into endogenous lipoprotein pathway or biliary excretion, bile acids and cholesterol. So intestinal triglyceride absorption. Triglycerides are assimilated into the body by the separate absorption of fatty acids and monoglycerides, which are re-esterified by the enzyme acyl coenzyme A diglyceryl acyl transferase DGAT to form triglycerides. So here we are summing up the lipoproteins. Now coming to the apolipoprotein A, apolipoproteins. ApoA. ApoA is of four types. ApoA1, which is found in liver and small intestine. It is structural activator of lecithin, cholesterol acetyltransferase LCAT. ApoA2 is found in liver. It is structural inhibitor of hepatic lipase. It is a component of ligand for HDL binding. ApoA4 is found in small intestine. It is an activator of LCAT and modulator of lipoprotein lipase. ApoA5, it is found in liver. It has a direct functional role. Uh, its direct functional role is unknown, but it may regulate triglyceride levels. ApoB is of two types, ApoB100 and ApoB48. ApoB100 is in liver. It has structural roles of synthesis of VLDL, ligand for LDL receptor. ApoB48, it is found in small intestine, again structural synthesis of chylomicrons. It is derived from ApoB100 mRNA following specific mRNA editing. ApoC is of three types. ApoC1, it is found in liver. It is an activator of LCAT and inhibitor of hepatic TGRL uptake. ApoC2 is found in liver. It is an activator of LPL and inhibitor of hepatic TGRL uptake. ApoC3 is in liver and inhibitor of LPL and inhibitor of hepatic TGRL uptake. Then fourth one is apoprotein E. Apoprotein E, ApoE, it is found in liver, macrophages, brain. Ligand for ApoE receptor, mobilization of cellular cholesterol. Okay. So now we come to the clinical part. What is dyslipidemia? Dyslipidemia. Okay, so normally total cholesterol concentration should be less than 6.5 millimole per liter. And we can also in lipid profile we can also check the LDL concentration, HDL concentration, triglyceride concentration, VLDL concentration. So dyslipidemia is when the cholesterol of either total cholesterol or some component of the cholesterol like LDL or triglycerides, it is raised, or HDL might be reduced. So dyslipidemia can be primary or secondary. Primary forms are the genetically determined conditions. Secondary forms are a consequence of other conditions such as diabetes mellitus, alcoholism, nephrotic syndrome, okay, chronic renal failure, administration of some medicines, etc. So these are the normal levels of the lipoproteins. LDL cholesterol, optimally it should be less than 100. Borderline is considered to be 130 to 160 and high risk is more than 160. HDL cholesterol normally it should be more than 60. Borderline is 35 to 45 and high risk is less than 35. Triglycerides are less than 150. Borderline is 150 to 199 and high risk are more than 100. Total cholesterol less than 200, borderline is 200 to 239 and high risk is more than 240. Okay, so coming to the types of primary hyperlipoproteinemias. We basically have 5 main types. Okay, so type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 and type 5. Type 2 is further classified into type A and type 2A and type 2B. So these are the genetic problems. Okay, so for example, in type 1, that is the familial hyperchylomicronemia. There is absence of LPL, elevated lipoprotein is chylomicron, and risk of atherosclerosis is not there. Type 2 में familial hypercholesterolemia, deficiency of LDL receptors, elevation is of elevated lipoprotein is LDL, risk of atherosclerosis is high. Type 2B is familial combined hyperlipidemia, deficiency of LDL receptors, elevation of LDL and VLDL. Risk of atherosclerosis is high. Type 3 is familial dysbeta-lipoproteinemia, mutant ApoE. Elevated lipoprotein is VLDL and chylomicron. Risk of atherosclerosis is moderate. Type 4 is familial hypertriglyceridemia, in which the cause is overproduction or decreased clearance of VLDL. Elevated lipoprotein is VLDL and there is moderate risk of atherosclerosis. In type 5, familial combined hypertriglyceridemia, there is overproduction of decreased clearance of VLDL. VLDL and chylomicron are elevated, but there is no risk of atherosclerosis. So, treatment. Now coming to the management, there are two main ways or mainstay of treatment, that is lifestyle modification and hypolipidemic drugs. Okay. So in lifestyle modification, in diet we have to restrict the intake of saturated fat. We have to instruct the patient to exercise regularly for at least 30 minutes a day. If the person is obese, then we have to work with the patient to reduce the obesity, stop smoking and alcohol, and take plenty of fruits and vegetables. Okay. So despite this, if for at least 2 or 3 months, if the patient has tried all this, then we switch to the hypolipidemic drugs. So we have to consider the other risk factors involved also, like blood pressure, diabetes. So there are specific guidelines when we should start the hypolipidemic drugs. So these guidelines keep updating. So we should follow the guidelines. Okay. Classification of hypolipidemic drugs. There are 5 main types. One is HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors like statins. For example, lovastatin, simvastatin, pravastatin, atorvastatin, rosuvastatin. Bile acid sequestrants like resins, for example, cholestyramine, cholestyramine. Then third one is lipoprotein lipase activators, that is fibrates. For example, clofibrate, gemfibrozil, bezafibrate and fenofibrate. Fourth is lipolysis and triglyceride synthesis inhibitor, for example, nicotinic acid. And fifth is sterol absorption inhibitor, for example, ezetimibe. And there are few more also, like fish oil has some role. Okay, so from tomorrow we will start with the discussion of HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors. That's it for now. Thank you for listening.